Hello, I'm Dr. Cheryl, and welcome to Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl. I'd like to start with something funny. An Indian boy goes to his mother one day with a puzzled look on his face. "Say, Mom, why is my bigger brother named Mighty Storm?" "Because he was conceived during a mighty storm," she said. Then he asked, "Why is my sister named Cornflower?" "Well, your father and I were in the cornfield when we made her," she replied. He then asked, "And why is my other sister called Moonchild?" "We were watching the moon landing when she was conceived," the mother replies. The mother paused and said to her son, "Tell me, torn condom, why are you so curious?" Sorry. The theme of our show is raising the awareness and consciousness in the relationship with wealth and applying unconditional love. Wealth is the ability to fully experience life by Henry David Thoreau. Our special guest this evening is Dr. Brenda Wade, PhD. This is the first segment of a two-part discussion with Brenda. Psychologist, television host, keynote speaker, founder of Love, Money, and Siva seminars, and author. Dr. Brenda Wade is best known for her dynamic, love-centered approach to transformation. She has earned numerous awards as a psychologist, keynote speaker, workshop leader, author, television host, and producer. Dr. Brenda, known for her Knock 'em Alive interactive delivery, offers keynote addresses and presentations on optimal health and success to corporate, professional, and general audiences internationally. Her presentations have been hailed as legendary, and as a keynote speaker, Dr. Brenda leaves audiences standing on their feet cheering, but above all, inspired with the takeaway tools to keep building success. Dr. Brenda has consulted for MCA, the Disney Corporation, the Canadian government, San Francisco Fire Department, and many others. Dr. Brenda chaired the San Francisco Human Rights Commission, serves on the boards of various community organizations, and has received multiple awards for her work in the field of domestic violence, HIV and AIDS, and service to family and children. Dr. Brenda, a clinical psychologist in San Francisco, California, specializes in couples and family therapy with a private practice that reaches internationally. A protege of the world-renowned author and therapist, Dr. Virginia Satir. Her approach is scientifically based, humanistic, and practical. She received her Bachelor of Science degree in biology at the University of Puget Sound, completed her PhD in Development and Child Clinical Psychology from the University of Washington. Dr. Brenda is former adjunct professor at John F. Kennedy University, San Francisco State University, and Antioch University West. A four-time national television host, Dr. Brenda currently co-hosts Healing Quest nationally on PBS and is in development for a new project with CNET TV, Dr. Oz, Dr. Drew, and Today Show, CNN, and many others regularly book Dr. Brenda as a guest pert. A groundbreaking author, Dr. Wade's 4 books include 99 Things You Wish You Knew Before Falling in Love, Power Choices, What Mama Couldn't Tell Us About Love, which she co-wrote with Brenda Lane Richardson, and Love Sessions, A Guide to Transforming Relationships. Her 5th book, Unchain Your Love, The Modern Love Guide, is due in 2015. Dr. Brenda also contributes to the national and international publications including Bridal Fantasy O, the Oprah Magazine, Essence, Forbes, Ebony, Ladies, Journal, Home Journal, Jet, Heart and Soul, and Match.com. Welcome, Brenda. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm really glad that you're here, and I've already done the introduction of your wonderful background, and
thank you.
I would like to just give it over to you and tell us about who you are.
Wow. Well, that's one of those questions that is fun to field and a little bit intimidating, but I want to first thank you, Cheryl, for the opportunity to sit and just talk in a deep way, which I know you are the woman to have a deep conversation with. And who I am is probably more the evolutionary story, starting out as a little girl. I'm the second of 7 children. I have 5 sisters. So there were the 3 big girls, my brother, and the 3 little girls.
Oh,
and I'm
okay.
the second over here in this set.
Okay.
And that's important because I think it really shaped who I am and the direction my life took. I had a miserable childhood. I was very, very depressed and acted out in my own sort of quiet ways, you know, failing in school and stealing quarters and eating candy all day to get high off the candy, and just never quite being able to hold on to who I was. But I had these moments when I would lie on the grass on the playground and just look up at the sky, and I could feel this soaring feeling, just pure joy. Those moments were fleeting, but they were so precious. And, you know, as I went along my path, I acted out all sorts of things, getting in abusive relationships. And I think of that because we're looking at this whole scenario, you know, with the football player.
Oh, right.
Ray Rice being cut from the NFL, and now possibly the NFL commissioner, because he knew about this terrible incidence of domestic violence and did nothing. And it made me remember some of the things I went through as a very young woman.
So you're
And
passionate about this subject.
I'm very passionate about honoring everyone's humanity. And of course, if a woman is being struck by a man, she's being dehumanized. She's not a person. I was struck as a child. I was being made into an object. I wasn't a person.
Right.
So of course, as fate would have it, my mentor was the person who was one of the originators of the whole field of humanistic psychology, Dr. Virginia Satir.
Right, right.
And I just got lucky. You know, I was so depressed when I met
not
Virginia.
Luck. It's not
Oh,
luck.
I know
you know
it's
what,
not luck.
honey? It's absolutely divine order for you.
I believe it.
Totally.
You know that I know that.
Yeah, I know. I'm
At
just
that
reminding
time,
you.
Yeah, at that time, you know, I didn't know. I just thought, well, I'm going to have a free vacation, and I'm going to go stay for 30 days in this retreat with whoever this woman is. I didn't know, and I didn't care.
Yeah.
And that was wake-up time. It was wake-up time. And I know that you know all about Wake Up, which is the name of the show.
Yes, yes, yes.
So prior to that, I was just so depressed. I felt like I had this big cloud pressing on me, and I felt I was invisible.
How did you get rid of that depression?
The first thing was I was doing hard research in the monkey lab at the University of Washington Med School, prematurely born macaque monkeys, and that lab was perfect for me. It was in the basement. It was dark. There were no windows. It smelled horrible because we had monkeys there.
Yeah.
And it was one of the I think the second or third largest primate lab in the United States. It was huge, very important.
At UW?
Yeah, with this kind of research. And at that time, I was just so lost that I started having these anxiety attacks that went with the depression.
So you were in your early 20s, late teens?
Very early 20s,
Okay,
yeah. And a friend took me to the Student Health Center because I had a terrible anxiety attack, only I didn't know what it was. I thought I was having a heart attack. So I got there, and this doctor, whom I'll never forget, she was this tiny woman, Rebecca Wells, I still remember her name. And she said to me after she examined me, she said, well, it's nothing physical. What do you think is going on? I said, well, I figured it out. I'm having a massive anxiety attack. She said, yes. She said, why do you think you're having it? I said, oh, you know, I'm working my way through school, la, 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 la. And I gave her my little story. She said, no, that's not why.
That's the topical.
You're having the anxiety attack. She said, you're having it because all this is going on in your life, and you're sitting there as cool as a cucumber talking about it. Well, I thought that was a good thing, that I kept it all inside. And she said, no, it's exploding, imploding.
Yeah, inside, yes.
So she took out her prescription pad and wrote something. I thought, oh, she's putting me on medication. She handed it to me. and it was the name of a therapist.
Oh, okay.
Oh, God. Cheryl,
Yeah.
I ran up those stairs.
I bet.
And it took me a year to begin to feel better.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
when you say, how did you become undepressed? It was a lot of hard work.
Well, it's hard work to be living day to day with,
Right.
especially what's going on today in the
Yeah.
world. Everything is bubbling up, all the negative stuff and inequity and blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
And, it forces individuals to do the same thing, I believe. And that's what it takes to be free. Mm-hmm. And I think that we all want to be free.
Everybody does, and I like what you just said about individuals being forced to deal. We have to deal with our stuff, and there's this place where, as a collective, as a
Yes.
government, as
Yes.
as
my
a body of
gosh.
people,
Oh my gosh, that's
we
huge.
have to do more. And I'm watching it, like in Turkey and Syria
Right.
and Egypt. People are coming, young people especially,
Yeah.
and saying,
Yeah.
we had enough of this. We're
Yeah.
not going down this road anymore.
Well, it has to be global, but it all starts within yourself.
That's right.
The individual.
Yes.
That's the whole point,
I
It's like-
couldn't agree more.
And the hardest part, I think the biggest fear for people that delve into their stuff to free themselves is the fear of getting stuck in their emotions.
Yes.
Because, crying.
Everyone is afraid of their emotions, yet if we don't completely experience the emotion and completely express, I have this little thing I call the 3 E's. With emotion, you must experience and express, and then it converts to energy.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
we can use that energy. And if people would just do that one thing, it would make such a difference in freeing ourselves.
Well, not only freeing emotionally.
Well, I learned it the
mentally,
hard way. Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it's all part of the evolution of each individual humanity.
Well, if we keep emotion inside, the research shows clearly it makes us sick.
Oh, absolutely.
Whatever
I mean,
we're
that's the
hanging on
basis.
to because we're afraid to face.
Yeah.
And I was talking with a physician recently from Mexico who has an alternative medicine clinic there, and they can diagnose the emotional cause of every illness they see.
Oh, yeah.
Just
Well,
by
Louise
looking
Hay,
at which side
too.
of the body it showed
Right.
up on, what kind of tumor it is versus another kind, and they can diagnose exactly the emotional cause.
Yeah. Well, I've used
I love
Louise Hay
Hay
for
yes.
years.
Yes.
One of the things that I did want to say is that, once you start delving into the past, inequities that have happened to you, abuse, whatever it is, and you can let go of it and free yourself. And crying is part of it because,
Yes.
crying, it cleanses the soul.
Exactly.
So that's so important to do. Several years ago, gosh, maybe 30 years ago, I was up at a resort up in doing a mud bath and this mineral water and so
Ooh,
forth.
that sounds yummy.
And I had a massage there up in Calistoga. And he was a therapist too. And he told me, this was like a wake-up thing for me. He told me, he says, it's so important to do primal therapy.
Yes, get all those feelings out.
And that's the primal
Yeah,
therapy. And I truly believe, if I hadn't done the work that I had, I wouldn't be
Right.
where I am. And that's primal therapy.
It
I
is.
mean, years ago,
Well, everything is energy. And this whole idea of emotional energy being available to us because it's there. It's either going to be suppressed where we can't use it, or it comes up, and there's a healthy way, of course,
absolutely
to express
and
it.
it takes practice. It's not something that, from my experience, it takes practice to also be able to communicate that in a healthy way.
Yes.
With your relationships,
Right. You mean we shouldn't be blaming and bashing each other?
Hello.
Cheryl, this is what I do all day, every day. Every book I've written is about relationships and how we learn these patterns. Because if you come from a family like mine, where there was so much trauma that my parents never got to heal, growing up as African Americans in the Deep South with Jim Crow and the terrible things that they had to face, I can't even imagine it.
Yeah.
And, I faced my own share growing up, but theirs was 100 times worse. And they came to California so that we could have a better life.
Well, God bless them.
Yes, God bless them, but they never healed the trauma.
Yeah.
And so they acted it out.
They didn't know how.
Of course not. But the point I want to make is we have an opportunity now, and it is important for every person to seize the opportunity to heal.
Absolutely.
And if you think you've got nothing to heal, I'm sorry, think again. It's a pay me now, pay me later situation.
Yeah, no, everybody
does. But out
does.
of that, it allows us, and because my specialty, my work is with couples and with relationships, and that comes right out of my childhood experience of needing to heal myself, needing to look deeply at how my parents created a relationship where they were never angry with one another. My mother would sort of nag my father, and he'd go in the bathroom, close the door, turn on the faucet, take out his electric shaver, and sing.
Oh, wow.
So I couldn't hear her.
Oh, wow.
And then we all knew what was going on. When he thought she sort of petered out, he would listen. And sometimes he'd open the door and he'd see us hovering. He'd go, "Is she done?" We go, "Yeah, Dad, you can come on out now." So they never fought.
Yeah.
They never dealt with anything between them. And my dad was this sort of romantic guy who never stopped courtship with her.
Oh, God, how
but
wonderful.
it was wonderful, but the anger and the trauma came out on us kids.
Yeah.
So this was the beginning of me really looking at relationships, because I swung this way and this way.
Yeah.
The very romantic guys or the abusers.
Right.
There was no middle ground. Sometimes same guy in the same body.
Yeah.
Both patterns.
Right. I totally can relate.
So for me, after I worked with Virginia Satir, where I got to spend a whole month doing simulated families and looking at how family dynamics were crafted and
role play?
understanding.
Did you do role play?
Tons.
Oh, yeah.
Tons.
Yep.
I got to the place where understanding me was the basis. First, I had to leave the monkey lab.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Get out of the lab, and I went into clinical work. And I've never stopped working on myself since then.
No, well,
and
once you're on
key.
that path,
it's the key.
I mean, that's a given. That's an everyday thing.
Yeah.
I mean, just like with my meditation and prayer every day.
Exactly.
Before I even get out of bed.
Yep.
I'm
with you there.
That's important because that keeps you grounded and keeps you balanced. And love. That's what we need more than anything on this planet right now.
It's true, but the issue there, this takes me back into this whole conversation about self-healing. Because to love others really requires doing this work. Because the big discovery for me was compassion. That I lacked compassion for myself.
Oh, so that means you lack compassion for others.
Well,
I mean, that's the projection,
It's part of it. It's part of it. I think that sometimes, like I did this little trick on myself. I lacked real compassion for, I'm very hard on myself. I should work harder, and I should do more, that sort of thing. And picking relationships that didn't honor me. But I could be so nice to other people.
Yeah.
I swung way too far.
Right.
Became a little people pleaser.
Yeah.
So there's overdoing
Right.
what I thought was compassion.
Right.
And real compassion is just being able to be with my own feelings and honor them, and be with yours.
Yeah, thank
and
you.
honor them. And it is the cornerstone, I believe, of a healthy love relationship.
Of course.
Is to be able to open the heart and just be in that place. When I'm working with couples, I was working with a couple of years ago that came in because she was cheating. And he was, of course, quite devastated. He came home from work and discovered her in the shower with her boyfriend.
Oh, great.
And he was on a business trip. He was supposed to be away, and he came home early to surprise her. Surprise!
Oh.
And she was devastated that he caught her. She was hurt and angry about the whole thing, and he was shattered. And the key for them was to get to compassion for one another.
Yeah.
And it took more work than you can imagine.
Oh, I can
to
imagine.
actually get to compassion. And once they got there, I wish I could say, gee, that was great and the marriage was saved. Once he got to compassion for himself, he said, you know, I deserve more than this.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't the
Right,
first
right,
time.
Right. Oh, yeah.
He said, I deserve more than this. I don't want to go through a third cycle of catching you cheating. And she had to come to grips with why she needed to do that and destroy all of her relationships. Yeah. So I'm just saying, compassion can be very healing, but it can work in a relationship, can work so that one person can outgrow a negative pattern, but not necessarily that that marriage can be saved.
Yeah, yeah. Well, because you do the love money, I'd like to focus a little bit on that.
Yes, that's
my
the name of
show
our seminar business.
Is to, you know, heal that relationship with money and apply unconditional love.
Exactly.
So, you know, when people go, what's unconditional love? It's amazing what they don't have a full understanding.
Yes.
And, you know, and I just read, I don't have it verbatim, but I just read what the Dalai Lama said, and really, love is just without judgment.
That's beautiful.
It's so simple, you know, it really is. It's simple. And
well, money is one of those things that we have a lot of judgments about. And in a relationship, as you know, the number one reason for fights leading to divorce are fights over money.
Financial.
So I often tell couples when I'm working with them, and I do all these workshops around the world and retreats and take people on spiritual quests, and money is part of everything I do, because the three things that I believe lead to fulfillment are love, money, and seva, selfless service.
Right.
So if we can get those three handled and get them in balance, we have a pretty good shot at having a healthy and having a fulfilling life. Now, when we talk about money in terms of relationships, the first thing I tell everyone I work with is that money is a stand-in for love. So I liked it that you said unconditional love right after you started talking about money, because truly we get it mixed up.
It's manipulative. It's control.
It can be.
Yeah.
It can be.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how, you know, I know I was raised a little bit with that control factor, except that my father and mother gave me the leeway to go make money and manage my own money young. So I appreciate that they gave me.
Which is very important.
Yeah.
It's a way of honoring you.
Yes.
In couples, what I find is people tend to find someone with a money pattern that is similar to their own. Now, those who are watching, I want everyone to have a chance to figure out their own money pattern. There's a really quick way to get to it, as you know. Just ask yourself, what was my mother's favorite saying about money?
Right, exactly. I mean, that's the root.
And what was my father's
Yeah.
favorite saying? Now, if Dad wasn't there, that's a money pattern.
Yeah.
That means you're unsupported, and you're going to react to that
Right.
your whole life. So my mother's favorite saying, of course, was, she had two goodies. When it came to love, she taught us men only want one thing,
Uh-oh.
but she didn't tell us what the one thing was.
Oh.
I had no idea what the one thing was. I was really, what is the one thing?
Yeah.
And then with money, of course, it was money doesn't grow on trees.
Yeah.
And it was always about this anger. Money doesn't grow on trees. What's wrong with you? Anytime we ask for something. So most people have a money doesn't grow on trees, or have your own money. I know a lot of women, especially women of color, are told you can't count on men. Have your own money. Because that's a pattern for African American women that came from the time of enslavement.
Right.
Because you couldn't count on anybody being there.
Yeah.
Your family could be taken away, your children could be sold away, you could lose everything and everyone you
Man's
love.
inhumanity to man. Oh.
Very inhumane, but these patterns persisted, and nobody understands where they started. So, if you have a mother like mine who said, money doesn't grow on trees, take a look at where that came from and trace it back as far as you can in your family. And you're going to find a history in the family that created the pattern, and finding yourself today still reacting to it. Now we can change it by backing up and getting right to the history. I had to do that in my own family. 3 generations, 4 generations back, my people were still enslaved because my grandpa was born in 1890. The African people were freed in 1865. So that means his parents, and when he was 30, he married my grandmother, who was 15.
Oh, wow.
So these money patterns got reenacted.
Perpetuated.
Because it was about fear of scarcity, fear of loss, because loss was real.
And you know what I find very interesting is I've known a couple billionaires and multimillionaires, and how they have a fear of losing it.
I work with many millionaires and billionaires,
like,
and one of my billionaire
they don't
clients,
have the love factor.
Yeah, one of my billionaire clients said to me, "I know I'm sick because I won't spend my money appropriately on myself. I won't spend it."
Yeah.
And I said, "You're right. So let's get to where that came from." And of course, it was what you just said. It was growing up feeling a lack of love and a lack of being valued.
Yeah.
So these words we use to describe money: worth, value, net worth, and the words we use to describe valuing ourselves: self-worth, my value as a woman or a person, and all of these things, they overlap. Interest, your money earns interest. Well, how much interest do you give yourself? Is it positive interest, negative interest? So I always ask people to look at the words that describe money, the words you use to describe yourself, and we usually find they're aligned.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, because that's wonderful information for the viewers. You know, I mean, even though we've talked about this, but you're a different wonderful person. So
thank you, Cheryl.
There'll be other people that will hear it, and
well, this is
like,
your sweet spot, talking about money.
Yeah.
And with couples, one of the things that is so crucial to me in my work with couples is that we keep coming back to love, is that most people think they know how to love. And the reason we get money tangled up with love is that we actually have to do the work to learn how. So I like to say to people, Cheryl, do you drive a car? Do you have a driver's license? How much time did it take you to learn to drive that car and get a license?
Yeah.
If we took just that much time to learn how to love, and I have
unconditionally. Well, I'll leave you with this. The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Be impeccable with your words. Speak with integrity. Say only what you mean. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. Don't take anything personally. Nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own dream or illusion. When you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be a victim of needless suffering. Don't make assumptions. Find the courage to ask questions and to express what you really want. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings, sadness, and drama. With just this one agreement, you can completely transform your life. Always do your best. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It can be different when you are healthy opposed to sick. Under any circumstance, simply do your best and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret. Never give up. First be aware of your conscious, of your thoughts, and catch yourself before they come out of your mouth, especially the negative thoughts into words.